This is my presentation on the Battle of Chile, the struggle of an unarmed people. The Battle of Chile, the struggle of an unarmed people, is a Chilean-Cuban documentary film divided into three sections by Chilean director Patricio Guzman: the insurgency of the bourgeoisie, the coup d'etat, and popular power. Part 1 delves into the socio-political climate leading up to the left's triumph in 1973, shedding light on the underlying tensions and grievances that fueled the rightist opposition. Part 2 portrays the aftermath of the failed coup, exploring the repercussions faced by both sides and highlighting the resilience of those loyal to the government. And Part 3 delves into the empowering rise of popular power groups, showcasing how ordinary workers united to challenge existing power structures and shape their own destinies. Guzman is a Latin American documentary cinema giant with a corpus of more than 20 films. His film, The Battle of Chile, The Struggle of a People Without Arms, released individually in three parts in 1975, 1977, 1979, and the political conflicts preceding the coup or gulp against Allende is a classic example of what Argentinian filmmakers Octavio Gentino and Fernando Solanas christened Third Cinema. This was the Latin American filmmaking movement of the late 1960s and 70s that sought to use cinema as a weapon to document reality and progressively transform it. From exile in Cuba and Europe, Guzman continued to document resistance efforts against the Pinochet regime in films like In the Name of God in 1987 and Excavate the Memory of Unidad Popular in Chile, Obstinate Memory from 1997, The Pinochet Case in 2001, and Salvador Allende in 2004. The show explores the difficulties of President Salvador Allende had in his efforts to modernize Chile and fight poverty. Even with his best of intentions, a series of well-planned wildcat strikes stood in the way of his objectives. These clandestine operations, spearheaded by a group of conspirators having a strike and undermining the president's reforms, aimed to topple Allende's government and cause economic instability in the country. Demonstrations and protests escalated during this period, with both sides fiercely advocating for their respective ideologies. Those on the left organized strikes in various industries, aiming to disrupt the functioning of the economy and bring attention to their demands. Meanwhile, the right sought to maintain a sense of order and stability, pushing back against what they perceived as radicalism and a threat to the established social and political order. In courts and universities, passionate debates took place regarding issues such as civil rights, freedom of speech, and the role of the state in society. The clash of ideas resulted in a divide between those advocating for progressive reforms and those trying to uphold traditional values and institutions. Similarly, in Parliament, heated discussions ensued as lawmakers from both sides of the political spectrum fiercely debated policy proposals and legislation. The legislative process became a battleground for those ideological conflicts, making it increasingly challenging for consensus to be reached on important societal issues. The media also played a pivotal role during this period, as both sides aimed to shape public opinion in their favor. Newspapers, television stations, and radio broadcasts became platforms for disseminating political propaganda and disseminating information to their respective bases. The public, bombarded with conflicting narratives, often found it difficult to distinguish truth from opinion. In this complex and tumultuous period, the ideological divide between the left and the right became increasingly pronounced. The conflict permeated all aspects of society, leading to a deeply polarized and tense atmosphere. The future of the nation seemed uncertain as each side fought fervently to assist its vision for the future. These efforts were aimed at consolidating power and implementing socialist policies in various sectors of Chilean society. One of the key strategies employed by Allende's supporters was the establishment of community organizations known as cordões industriales, or industrial belts. These cordons aim to bring together workers from different industries to organize collective decision-making processes and coordinate production and distribution. By doing so, they sought to challenge the traditional power structures and redistribute wealth and resources in a more equitable manner. In addition to the cordons industriales, supporters of Allende also pursued a policy of nationalization, taking control of key industries as copper, banking, and telecommunications. Nationalization was seen as a means to remove economic power from wealthy elites and redirect it towards the goals of social injustice and equality. This policy, however, faced resistance from both domestic and international actors who viewed it as a threat to capitalist interests. Furthermore, Allende's government implemented agrarian reforms aimed at breaking up large estates and redistributing land to small farmers and agricultural workers. This was done in an effort to address long-standing social and economic inequalities in the rural sector and promote agricultural productivity. These reforms were met with mixed reactions, as they were seen by some as a necessary step towards social justice, while others criticized them as undermining private property rights. Moreover, Allende's supporters also sought to enact reforms in education and healthcare. They implemented policies to increase access to education at all levels, including the establishment of free university education for all Chilean students. Similarly, efforts were made to expand healthcare services and ensure that all citizens had access to quality medical care. However, these attempts to establish a state within a state and promote socialist policies eventually led to a confrontation with various conservative and opposition forces. This culminated in the military coup on September 11, 1973, led by General Augusto Pinochet. The military takeover resulted in the suppression of political dissent, widespread human rights abuses, and a shift towards a more neoliberal economic model. The Battle of Chile, like all third cinema films, focuses on themes and concerns such as poverty, national and personal identity, tyranny and revolution, imperialism, social hierarchy, and cultural customs to portray the world in a socially realistic manner. The close-up, by its very idiosyncratic nature of being close, moves the spectator towards a more haptic understanding of the camera's subject. Jean Epstein's delineation of the audience of the close-up on the spectator is, the close-up modifies the drama by the impact of proximity. If I stretch out my arm, I touch you, and that is intimacy. I can count the eyelashes of this suffering. I would be able to taste the tears. Accordingly, films and their cinematographic techniques, such as the close-up, can put us into the form of pseudo-physical contact with those groups on the screen, according to Boranda in her academic journal. In the mid-20th century, Chile's price control system was established to protect consumers from economic insecurity. However, the 1972 capital strike and international credit blockade raised doubts about the state's ability to protect consumers. The military coup in 1973 led to the dismantling of the price control state, dismantling the principle that price stabilization would inevitably come at the expense of employment, decent wages, and the welfare state, according to Friend String in her academic article. In the late 1990s, the Battle of Chile was not shown in Chilean theaters or television due to negative responses from the state-run television station head. However, in 1999 and 2000, it appeared on television sets in Chile through Sky, a multinational satellite television company. In Chile's neoliberal democracy, memory and history are commodities dependent on market vicissitudes and decisions made by multinational corporations. Since then, the film has not been shown in Chile again, according to Klubach in her academic article. The Battle of Chile and Memoria Obstinata, also directed by Patricio Guzman in 1997, differ in their focus on social groups and movements during the UP years. The former focuses on unrepeatable social experiences, while the latter focuses on individuals and their subjective experiences. This difference may reflect socioeconomic and political changes caused by dictatorship, such as deindustrialization, commercial export agriculture, and repression in the 1990s, according to Klubach in her academic article. The Battle of Chile was a spontaneous attempt to capture Allende's early social justice efforts, led by Guzman, who used Chris Marker's film stock and vivid voices of Chilean residents to create a compelling depiction of his collapse. As a result, it is still considered to be the quintessential third world cinema film of all time to this very day. When the Battle of Chile made its U.S. premiere at the Film Forum, it received a lot of positive press and praise from critics. While praising the film's epic quality, critics such as Pauline Kael and Vincent Canby considered its simplifications to be unsatisfactory. It was still dubbed an important political picture of our time by Tom Allen. Despite being seldom renewed, the movie is considered a classic and was ranked 18th out of 100 important political films in a recent New Republic survey. As I grow older, my affinity for political narratives has increased significantly. I have a huge love for classic cinema and traditional storytelling. Furthermore, I have developed a deep appreciation for three-part epic trilogies that present grand, expansive tales through visually captivating cinematic techniques, surpassing what was once thought to be unimaginable. So this movie was perfect for me, and that is why I chose it to analyze.